Let's see what our guy Tom Murphy thinks as we welcome in the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette and Whole Hog Sports beat writer for Arkansas Razorbacks. Tom, I know we're far out, and I know it's a long way away, and I know this is not going to stick. But when you looked at this schedule yesterday and you saw the SEC announcement, how it shook out, just from blind eye, quick test, what was your initial thought of how many games Arkansas was going to win in 2021?
Well, good morning, guys. And Ty, I see you've already gotten up and been provocative about Ole Miss today. So good job there. Maybe this is newspaper guy versus radio guy. I had other stuff going on, and I didn't sit there and go through it and go win, loss. But maybe I should have. But no, I can tell you this. Y'all, or your assessment I just heard, probably didn't include a chance to beat Texas, but I think that game being at home, Arkansas will be well prepared. Now, look, they're going to have to deal with the scheme that is problematic, but Ken Sark put the pieces together and find the quarterback to run it like he did at Alabama in what would be their second game. So I see that as a toss-up game. And then I'm like Tommy. I think they'll have a chance to beat Mississippi State and get a win here or there. But I'll tell y'all, it is not easy to win games in the SEC. That's why what they did last year was so remarkable. That on a week-to-week basis, you've got to outplay somebody. You've got to make more plays. You got to have a great game plan. Your players have to believe in it. You see, they went and won at Mississippi State, and then late in the season, even though Mississippi State had gone through a lot of injuries, they had COVID issues, they beat Missouri quite handily at home.
Mm-hmm.
So it's who shows up week to week. And at first glance, I'm thinking 6 wins, but I'm sure by the time fall rolls around, I'll have a good grip on where I predict where they'll win. By the way, I did accurately predict 3 wins last year.
Attaboy. Tom, we've already gotten several. I got to make sure I say this right. Tuck Fexus text this morning, so
be careful.
I want to make sure I say that right so we don't get hit.
Slow down and say it right.
With a $25,000 fine. But the animosity that is still amongst this fan base with the University of Texas, which you haven't played since the late 2000s, is amazing. And if my grandpa was still with us, I still have his picture and a Beat Texas pin next to his picture, because that's what I was taught from an early age, like since I was born, to hate that university in Austin. And I think it's been passed on, not as much, but I wonder, with some of these younger guys and gals that are at the U of A or growing up Arkansas fans and that don't necessarily know about the hatred, the bad blood between the schools, you think that sparks up again with this game that's going to be played early on in September?
Well, of course, sure it will. Look, if they scheduled a deal where they played twice in a decade, say, did a home and away series every decade, it would be real again, man, because that was the school that got all the breaks, that had all the referees down there in their state and all that kind of stuff. Think about the population on the UA campus who comes from Texas. Arkansas, as a university, does a phenomenal job of recruiting kids from Texas. They get a lot of football players from Texas. So that meant a lot to them to go down to Houston. Guys like Tywan Johnson, who recovered a fumble for a touchdown in that game, to go down and whip Texas 31-7 in that bowl game after the 2014 season. So, yeah, they would probably be the number one rivalry for a huge part of the Arkansas fan base right now. And if they play twice a decade, the younger generation would get a good glimpse and hear the stories and understand the heated rivalry.
Tommy, I had a class with Taiwan, and I remember how juiced up he was leading up to that Texas game, so I was so happy to see him recover that fumble right before that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, Taiwan's one of my low-key favorite Razorbacks of the last decade or two. I just thought he had a great attitude about life. And good kid.
Yeah.
So what else, when you look at the other SEC schedules, and, last night during halftime of the basketball game and after the game, they went over some of the more marquee games, Auburn, Penn State, LSU and UCLA, Arkansas, Texas, one of those great non-conference games that we're going to see in the first 3 or so weeks of the season. What stood out to you amongst the other SEC schedules that came out yesterday?
Yeah, all the ones you just mentioned. I mean, that's going to be a difficult one. Even though Penn State had a rugged year, didn't they get off to like an 0-5 or something? James Franklin is a quality coach, and they will be a better opponent. And this game's on the road, and Brian Harsin and his staff are having to plug in a new system. So I would think that would be a difficult challenge for Auburn early on. And I don't know a whole lot about what's going on at UCLA, but I would think LSU would be favored in that game, no matter the locale. But all those games, man, the SEC football is a product that essentially sells itself, and the rest of the country just despises it just means more. And, there was a lot of animosity.
They hate it.
Yeah. They do. And when the SEC came out and was like, hey, if there's any way to play football, we're going to give our athletes a chance. This is what they come to school to do, and it means a lot. We want to try to play football, and man, there was a lot of kickback on that, pushback on that, including from the national media.
Yeah. All right, we got a lot of time to talk football schedule over the next 6 or 7 months, so we'll come back to that conversation in one of our later visits. Let's talk about the basketball game from last night. Arkansas gets to the halfway point in the SEC schedule, now at 5-4 with a win last night, Tom, over Ole Miss. Arkansas fairly dominant throughout the entirety of this contest. 74-59 the final. Seemed like Arkansas led by double digits most of the way.
Yeah, they really did. And you look at the last couple of games, they just, really taken care of business. They gotten out ahead of teams and really didn't give them much chance to come back. Interesting factoid y'all might have seen. Heading into that game, Arkansas had the exact same scoring in conference play, 640 points, 80 points a game, and rebounding as their opponents. But they got out a little bit ahead of it with last night's win. The 1 of 16 3-point shooting for Ole Miss, just abysmal, makes them 26.8 in conference play. An offensively challenged team for sure. You like that Connor Vanover got some extended minutes and really defended in the paint well. That play against Romello White will be one of the highlight reel plays of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Think about Desi. Imagine if I had a trampoline and I could run full speed and bounce off the trampoline and dunk and then fall completely flat on my face and my chest, how long it would take me to recover versus Desi. That kid is incredible. He does that, 3, 4, 5 times a game. He crash lands. Good to see him doing well. And then, of course, you had Jalen Tate with the tooth issue against Devante Davis' head in the last couple of minutes, but looks like he's going to be okay, but with a chipped tooth.
Yeah.
Tom,
I'm sorry, Ty. That looked like that just hurt when he kind of chest and face planted there. Held on to the rim too long, whatever. His swing got off, and then bam. I mean,
that was the first thing Tommy said to me this morning. Tom was like, "Did you see the Desi's how he landed?" And it was because I think Tommy's right. Just assuming that you guys wind knocked. When's the last time y'all have gotten your wind knocked out? Because that had to have happened last night, right?
Yeah, that's what Eric said in the post game that his wind got knocked out. But I mean, he's lucky. He finds a way to fall and not really hurt himself.
Yeah.
Because he somehow or another, I don't think his face hit at the same time as all the rest of the front of his body.
It's unbelievable. Tom, another guy that stood out to me last night, as well as so many other Razorback fans, is the play of Devante Davis. And when he gets on the fast break, he is a tear. And I know he's got to clean up some of the turnover issues. Tom, I'm going to be honest. I thought of all the 4 freshmen coming in, I thought he was the least likely to play. I know Moses has been the most outstanding, but Devo and Jalen are not that far behind Moses the way, especially Devo's been coming on as of late.
Absolutely. That's why it was such a well-regarded class. And to think about that Moses really had an off game, made 1 field goal late in the game, 1 for 3, had a couple of early turnovers, really uncharacteristic. Ole Miss just did a great job at not letting him be the guy who whipped him. Mm-hmm. And on this night, J.D. Notae comes in, scores a lot. Tate kind of does his thing. They hold him down a little. But Davis was like the key. His first stint in the game is what changed the momentum from Ole Miss forcing turnovers, getting out on the break, to Davis having a couple of steals. And he's like the fastest guy on the court and really fast with the ball in his hands. Yes, he's still a little bit erratic because a lot of his drives, he winds up in the paint and not sure what he's going to do, and he gets the shot blocked, the ball pulled away, whatever. But he finishes well sometimes with that left hand, and what a spark! He's a little bit mercurial. He's had the 20-point game against Georgia, and then last night was at 14 points. But in between, just a few off games, So when he finds a way to be consistent on a game-to-game basis, he's going to be so fun to watch when his minutes go up.
Tom, before we let you go, gut feeling on if Cade Cunningham plays Saturday against the Razorbacks.
Oh, gosh. There's no question he's going to play, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
He went from out to sitting on the bench on Monday, and I don't see how he doesn't play unless there's something going on we don't know about. But I'll tell you this is a factor. They had 2 extra days to prepare for this game. Mm-hmm. So this should be a really fun one. After really controlling the last couple of opponents, I have a feeling this was going to be a real nail-biter.
Should be good. Tom Murphy of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette and Whole Hog Sports. You can always read his stuff there, and you can always listen to Tom every Monday and Thursday right here on the Morning Rush at 7:20. Tom, we really appreciate it, buddy. Hopefully we'll get to see a good game in Stillwater on Saturday.
Sounds great, man. Y'all be good to Richard Davenport. Throw him some softballs here in a few minutes. See y'all.
We'll do our best.